Hey guys, Robin here. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Well, the reason for why it's been so long since I've made one of these videos is because it's because the Tuesday uh Tues is because the Tuesday the Tuesday of the week that Canada Day fell on. So so on June 29th, my laptop my laptop's hard drive got corrupted again, and I had to take it to Staples to get it fixed. And it took them like 3 weeks to do it, but and my only source of internet access was my mom's iPad. And I could have indeed filmed a review with her iPad. Problem with that, the problem with that would have been uploading the video, because since it would have been such a high quality video, it would be like a really big file and would take a long time to upload. And back in March when I had to go without a laptop, I attempted to upload a review of Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam. But the iPad like goes to sleep. The iPad goes to sleep when it thing is the iPad goes to sleep when it's not being used for like 5 minutes, which interrupts the upload. And so I just didn't do it. But I am back now, thank God. Although it may not be for much longer, considering this laptop is still being a piece of goddamn garbage. And it's been shutting down and it's been shutting itself off out of nowhere. But anyway, you didn't click on this video to hear me rant about what a piece of shit my laptop is. You clicked on this video to see a review of today's movie, which is Colossus, the Forbin Project from 1970, starring Eric Braeden, Susan Clark, and Gordon Pinsent, and is based on the 1966 novel Colossus by D.F. Jones, which I'll come back to later. It was directed by Joseph Sargent and produced by Stanley Chase, and as you can see, was made by Universal. Now, I'm sorry if you can't see a whole lot because I'm filming outside in direct sunlight, and we all know how great, and we all know how easy and fun it is to use a laptop, to try and use a laptop when you're outside. But anyways, so this movie is about is about a supercomputer, the titular Colossus, that is built in the side of a mountain, and which is built into the side of a mountain. And basically, Colossus is this giant unit. It's basically the NORAD. It's basically like the NORAD facility from War Games. Only no one can enter because the first like 5 minutes is Eric Braeden. Eric Braeden locking up Colossus, and a Colossus is basically has a giant nuclear reactor separating him from the outside world, as well as this giant mountain. And Colossus is given full control over every one of the United States' nuclear missiles. But Colossus begins to get too smart for the government's liking. And so the movie is basically them fighting Colossus for control of the system. It's basically fighting Colossus to regain control of these systems. Now, that may sound incredibly familiar to you. Now, that may sound incredibly familiar to you. Now, that's because that is the exact same story behind that's the same story behind Skynet from the Terminator movies. Only this time, only unlike Skynet, once Colossus figures out that these people are trying to take its control away, instead of launching all the nukes and causing a nuclear war, it basically starts threatening them. Like, like for example, it detects a Russian computer just as powerful named Guardian, and the U.S. government severs the connection, and Colossus orders the connection restored, or else he will, or else, or else they don't restore the connection to see what happens, and Colossus launches one single nuclear missile to the USSR, and likewise, Guardian launches a missile as well. Now, while Colossus is able to intercept and destroy Guardian's missile, Colossus's missile actually hits and destroys either a town or a military base, and they restore the connection. And Colossus and Guardian, they both get more and more intelligent until eventually Colossus basically takes over Guardian, and and all their attempts to disable Colossus fail. They try overloading the computer. They try to make Colossus basically crash or become disabled by uh, by feeding it so much data that it can't handle it, and it basically crashes or something. And God, which only results in Colossus figuring out what's up and ordering the people who involved to be executed. 1 second. Which, by the way, is actually how Colossus was defeated in the sequel novel to the book this movie was based on. and um, and they try to fool Colossus by doing maintenance on nuclear warheads, which um which I think consisted of them basically replacing the active warhead with like duds. And it appears to be working because Colossus isn't which appears to be working because Colossus isn't really noticing anything. But but it turns out Colossus actually knew something was up because this is a highly intelligent supercomputer, and 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 basically to teach mankind a lesson, he detonates a single nuke inside two different silos, one in the States, one in the Soviet Union, which obviously has a high death toll. Um, so this movie is pretty much about a supercomputer that is given full control of the world of the United States' nuclear stockpile, but ultimately ends up taking over the entire world. And Colossus even gets his own voice at one point, but it's basically like, this is the voice of world control. That's not how it sounds, but anyway, so now Eric Braeden, this was actually his now, or originally Universal wanted Charlton Heston or another big star to play Dr. Charles Forbin. However, the director insisted that they use an unknown actor, and Eric Braeden, whose actual name is Hans Jorg Gudegast. I probably pronounced that way wrong. But anyway, but they were interested in casting him but since he was still using his original German birth name, he would not be allowed to do the film unless he changed his name because for some reason, if you were German, you couldn't work in Hollywood. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe the head of Universal at the time was Jewish and he had a hardcore grudge against the Germans for obvious reasons. But anyways, so Eric Braeden was cast, and he actually does a very good job portraying a man whose life is being taken over and controlled by the very computer that he designed and made. Yeah, and yeah, he does a very good job. And in fact, since James Cameron was a huge fan of the movie, hence why Colossus has a very similar story to Skynet in Terminator 1 and 2. Yeah, and James Cameron was also a huge fan of Eric Braeden, and he actually really wanted to work with him, and his dream was achieved when he was able to cast Braden as John Jacob Astor the Fourth in his 1997 super hit Titanic. Yeah. Now, me myself, now I really like this movie. Like, I think it's a very smart, very intelligent, and it's a very suspenseful movie because you don't know, like, if Colossus is going to, because like since since they since like they do multiple attempts to stop Colossus, you're left wondering if Colossus is eventually going to get fed up and go all Skynet on them. And yeah. And so basically, Colossus essentially scares humanity into submission. And at the end of the film, he basically addresses the world, proclaiming himself as the voice of world control. Yeah. And yeah. Now, I did mention at the start that also the president in this movie, who is played by, Gordon Pinsent, who is played by Gordon Pinsent, he bears a very, he bears resemblance to President Kennedy, and yeah, and yeah. And Colossus eventually orders that Dr. Charles Forbin be under full audio and video surveillance, so he can keep track of him, both to protect Forbin and make sure that Forbin isn't taking part in the attempted sabotage of Colossus. The only exception to this being 4 evenings of the week, which is the only exception is for like an hour, which is for 4 hours a week, which is basically 4 evenings a week. Charles Forbin is allowed complete and total privacy due to Colossus allowing him privacy to get a little busy with a woman. Wow. But it's actually, but it's not actually for sexy time. It's so they can basically plot against Colossus without Colossus knowing what's up, which actually results in a really good line from Colossus where Braden has like stripped like fully naked, and he says, "Here I am, Colossus, naked as the day I was born." And Colossus remarks, "You were not born without a watch." And Colossus remarks, "You were not born with a watch," which is kind of funny. Which is kind of funny that they managed to give like a supercomputer a bit of personality. Now, I mentioned before that after this movie came out, there were two sequel novels to Colossus. The first one, called Fall of Colossus, it basically, they managed to successfully defeat Colossus by overloading it with data, which they did in the movie, which was not in the first book, but was in the movie, and they managed to disable Colossus. which which they never which I assume never got made into a movie because since Colossus in the first movie is so smart, he would he would figure out that he's about to be disabled and he would launch every nuke he possibly could before he's disabled, which yeah. And the third and final book, basically two Martians come to Earth needing to take a third of Earth's oxygen to basically revive Mars, and they're gonna do it by force. And so Forbin has no choice but to revive Colossus and fend off the two Martians, which at the end of the book are revealed to have actually been Mars's two moons, Phobos and Deimos, which I mean that right there is obvious why the third one never got a book. I mean, like imagine hearing they're going to be making a sequel to the Forbin Project, and you sit down and watch it only to see that they've added aliens and they managed to disable Colossus the same way they tried to. I mean, no, like like audiences would not accept that like whatsoever. And there had actually been a remake of this movie that's been in the works since the late 2000s. So yeah, but me personally, I really enjoyed this movie. And no, this big scary face on the cover that never appears in the movie. Colossus is just basically Colossus communicates at first by words that scroll across the screen like alert, there is another system, and he also communicates through text on computer monitors, which considering this is a movie from 1970, a full 6 years before the founding of Apple. Yeah, the computers, they look very dated. They look incredibly dated, and they look. But the thing is, like but the thing is, the dated tech does not take away from the movie. Like, as long as you don't sit down and stop, well, that would never happen now. Just get yourself into the mindset of this movie. It's really good. It's like really fascinating, really tense at some points considering Colossus is threatening to use nuclear weapons if he doesn't get his way. Excuse me. Excuse me. Now, anyway, I do recommend this movie. The writing is really good. It's very tense, very suspenseful, and the acting is fantastic. And basically all of the technicals like camera work, lighting, sound. Well, it's a major studio film from Universal, so it'd be a crime if any of that was bad. Now, one thing I did notice is that like this light inside, like before he locks up Colossus, just basically before Colossus is locked up until the end of time. Uh, one thing I noticed that there's a lot of screens, and he turns on like all the lights, which is odd considering he's going to be the last person to ever be inside to considering he's the last person who's ever going to be inside Colossus. But I mean, since Colossus is running on infinite nuclear power, why not splurge a little bit? And no, Colossus did not need maintenance or anything. Colossus just can basically run forever. Hence why, hence why the option isn't just to obey Colossus until he eventually is no longer operational. Yeah. But it's a very good movie. I will include a link to the film's trailer down below. Now, one question, I have the MTA home video print from 1988, which does not contain subtitles, but this movie did get released by Universal in the early 90s with subtitles, and literally the only difference on the packaging is the newer logo. Yeah, aside from that, it's still the same. It's still the same as this, only with a different Universal home video logo. So, yeah, thank you all for watching this video. I'm sorry I was not able to upload stuff due to my laptop being a piece of crap. And if I ever go a long time without uploading anything, you know why. Swear to God, though, this thing corrupts a third time. I'm not taking it disabled. I'm just throwing it in the garbage and saving my money for a better computer. Never buy Lenovo. Oh, and you may be asking, but Robin, if you didn't have an if you weren't able to upload a video, how was that video uploaded on Canada Day? Well, that video was actually uploaded and scheduled to go public, so yeah. Which, by the way, scheduling a video to go public is the only reason that a video should be able to be privated. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all soon in the near future. Peace.